So before we bring our next speaker on, we have something really special we have to do, and I'm going to invite somebody up on the stage. But before I actually invite this very special person up on stage, he celebrated a birthday this week. And I know we already sang happy birthday once, but the guys in the room, so maybe we could all just join together and sing Jeff happy birthday. So come on up, Jeff. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Wow.
So I want to give Jeff a few minutes to talk to us again this afternoon. And
thank you.
Thank you again.
Wow. Wow. So you guys having fun? Enjoying this? And I guess, crying is not necessarily fun, but it opens up. I mean, I did warn you, right, that there was going to be a wide range of emotions at the conference, and I was, sitting here listening to everybody talk, and there were like 3 very different topics I wanted to touch on because I have the stage. And so I want to touch on vulnerability. I want to deal with memories, if I can. That's going to be hard. And I want to deal with, well, we'll get those 2 first. Let's see if I get to the third. The third is dreams. So as far as vulnerability, I think that, one of the things I discovered about being online and connecting with people, and you may have seen this in some of the speakers, is if you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, if you can allow yourself to let your guard down a little bit, the ability for you to be effective as a communicator goes up geometrically. And that the people here today that open up their hearts just a little bit to share with you their stories are just an example of what you can do yourself. And it takes a lot of confidence, a fearlessness to actually open up, and it's very hard sometimes. But I believe one of the secret treasures of being online and connecting with the world is letting people inside you a little bit, because there are people to meet to you, there are people to be there for you. But you have to let them in. And so, it takes a lot to necessarily expose yourself, because why would you? Because some people are just hardened. But I believe that if you can allow yourself to be vulnerable, allow yourself to share something about you that people don't know, that there's a chance for you to connect with others, because there are other people living in this world that are also going through your life experiences. I mean, for me, I grew up lonely. And I grew up, from 9 to 12 and a half, I studied real hard to actually to get onto my first social media network, which was ham radio, because I discovered as a 9-year-old kid that my uncle had this amazing ability to talk to the world by simply going into his office, dialing a frequency, and calling CQ. And CQ stands for CQ. And I spent, from the time I was 9 to 12 and a half, teaching myself Morse code, electronic theory, and the rules and regulations to be a ham, which wasn't easy. I failed so many times, but when I was 12 and a half, I got my license to communicate, and I never shut up. From the time I was 12 and a half to my 20s, I used to be on the radio 40 to 60 hours a week, and that was my social network. That's where I learned how to listen, how to connect, how to share, how to engage. Because if you can't do it on radio, you're certainly not going to do it online. And that's where I learned I grew up on the radio. I grew up connecting with people, and I've had that my entire life. And it was actually because of me being a ham that ended up saving my life, because when I was working on Wall Street, it wasn't that I got fired. I got fired because I discovered a new hobby, which was voice on the internet, and I found a very strong corollary between ham radio and that. So that kind of worked out for me, and I never apologize for being lucky, but I do believe in gratuitous acts of kindness. I do believe in doing things without asking for permission or for forgiveness, and I do things to try to just to be kind because it's inside of me. But I think vulnerability is key. I lost my dad in 1998. One of the things I discovered about the social web, and my kids, by the way, they're 17 now. When they were 3 years old, they too were on the internet. My kids could not speak. They were late speakers, but they were surfers in diapers. And I had lots of experiences watching my kids grow up all these years. But one of the things which I missed, though, is my father passed away in 1998, and I still remember going to my grandfather's house and seeing a photograph of my dad as a kid, maybe an 8-year-old kid, sitting having his photograph taken. And I was thinking to myself, gee, what was my father as a kid thinking having his photograph taken? What was the photographer thinking about my dad? And if he was living now and he had social media, I would know. Because one of the things we're giving ourselves is breadcrumbs to our future and to our past. And while you may think that not every tweet matters, everything you say when you're alive matters. Because when you're dead, it's hard to talk. And I think that people who've lost people could appreciate that more. And so, if you ever, think about deconstructing your life or being able to connect to a future generation, there's something happening in this world today that's going to allow future generations in your family to discover this amazing aunt or uncle or grandfather or grandmother or great-grandfather, because the technologies are there, right? So people, between the YouTube videos you're creating, the tweets that are being preserved, at least in the Library of Congress, your Facebook and everything else, life is being preserved. And you could be funny about it, and you could say, gee, you could curse, but the thing is, it doesn't matter that you had a great day or a bad day. The fact is you're here. And I think for people who will miss you, and people who want to get to know their relatives, now they can. I'll never know. And I made the mistake. My grandfather was still alive when my father died. I actually could have asked him. My grandfather, he lived till he was 94, and he had a great memory. And he probably would actually tell me about that photograph. But I do believe that we're living in very special times, that our ability to leave digital breadcrumbs. And my kids are growing up, they're 17. I used to write a Pulver, before I blogged, I used to write the Pulver report. I really documented my kids growing up. And when my kids turned 5, I so wanted to talk to them as adults, but I couldn't because I'm a dad and they're my kids. At 17, I still can't talk to my kids as adults, even though we're Facebook friends. Even though they see my Facebook statuses, and now my kids are actually they're on Twitter too. They have their own sneaker blog. They're very much into sneakerhead culture. And they tweet. And like the other night, I was up late, and my son Dylan was up late, and I said, "Shouldn't you be going to sleep?" "Sorry, Dad." But we did this publicly on Twitter, as opposed to me calling his room. But I think there's something endearing about having open communication channels that link generations to generations, and the ability to now take your photographs on Flickr or wherever platforms, on Facebook, wherever you put them, take your videos from YouTube and link them. Generations from now will have something we never had, which is all these remembrances. And no matter what you say or do, yeah, maybe some tweets were trivial, but I'm telling you, your ability to leave behind memories will be amplified when you're not here. And it's hard to speak about that, but it's true. And I think that if you ever lost someone or missing someone or want to leave a message to someone, I still don't know how to talk to my kids as adults. They're 17 now. But they, next year they're in college, and God knows what happens there. And it's funny, on Facebook I have no photos of my kids. I've been so protective. I keep my Facebook public, but private about certain things. But I do believe that there's something special, and we're living in these very special times for memories. So I do, to the extent that you have photographs that can be explained to you when the person in the photograph is alive, ask those questions so you don't have to guess. And lastly, dreams. I do want to tell you that I've been very fortunate to be able to have a dream and see them come true. And I've learned that nothing is impossible if you allow yourself the chance to be unbounded. And no matter where you go, no matter what you do or believe in, things can happen. And I will not bore you with my life stories about all these wonderful things, but I've seen great things happen, and I've seen people totally give up. But when people can believe in themselves, it's like, I learned not that long ago that the best gift you can ever give someone is to believe in them and to tell them. That's a wonderful gift. But sometimes you have to believe in yourself. And just because if you have an idea for a new company, if you have an idea for a new invention or a new way of speaking, just because all the friends around you don't get it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. Occasionally, as I learned in my life, you have to get new friends. You have to get people who don't necessarily say no to every idea that you have or yes to every idea you have. You have to get people who like you for you. And that comes from age and it comes from opportunity, but you have to believe. But being here today and watching this conference happen and watching these people come out, total strangers, some friends, others, this is a dream come true. This is actually a living dream, which I thank every one of you who's sitting in the audience, every one of you who worked on the committee to make this event happen, and everyone who came and shared their hearts. I thank you and I applaud you because you guys rock. So really, I thank you. So dream, and when you dream, dream big. No use in dreaming small. Dream unbounded, dream lucidly. But allow yourself to fly, allow yourself to do stuff that people think you can't do. Anything is possible. If it hasn't been figured out yet, doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means people haven't figured out how to connect those dots. So I encourage you to dream. I really encourage you to take those memories and let them fly. And really, I do believe there's something here that's just magical, and sometimes you'll figure this out, and other times you won't. But when you connect with people and allow them to connect to your soul, there's sometimes no better gift you can give to of yourself or to them, because they get to see who you are. Anyway, thanks for the time. I appreciate being here today, and thanks for the few minutes to come and talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. That was wonderful.